Hi everybody, my name is Raman Wukong, and today we're going to go over the Moonstone system, the automatic Smartnode installer and setup for Crystal Bitoreum. Moonstone can currently only be used to set up one instance of Bitoreum per piece of hardware at this time. It's mostly set up to do two, but there were some issues that I ran into, so I disabled it. So as of right now, one piece of software per hardware for the time being. Alright, let's jump right into it. As always, we're going to update and upgrade the operating system and then install Git. So many of our scripts that are not pre-compiled rely on Git to be utilized, and not every distro ships with Git, and if you haven't done this before, always good form. Everything tested out. So next we are going to git clone github.com Nikovosh Moonstone, and in my case there's a utility in the dev branch that I want that you don't necessarily need, but for you, you can just drop off the -b dev, you'll be just fine. cd Moonstone means we're going to put us right into the Moonstone directory. Let me look here. ls. Yep. The first thing that we are going to discuss is rock grind. This is a great little utility for even people. Oops, if I can spell. Okay, it goes through a little utility and determines based on your hardware and suggests, oh, okay, that's the best URL for you to download if you want to do things manually. But for the rest of us that want to do it automatically, we're off to the races. It's going to ask you if the daemon's been stopped. Do make sure. I know for a fact that this is a new instance, so the daemon shouldn't be running in the background. We hit yes. It's going to install the prerequisites. Prerequisites are done. It's going to do a little bit of configuration, determine, oh, yep, we know what we're on, configure failed to ban, enable the firewall, we're good to go. Now it's going to ask you whether this is based on a successful install, a failed install, or a new install. The failed install works, but the successful one doesn't. That's the ability to add a second user. There was some interesting logic in there that I didn't think of. So I disabled it. So right now, new and failed kind of works, new definitely works. And since this is a new installation, we're going to go ahead with this. Now we're going to enter in a username to run the Smartnode system, Bitoreum, okay, and enter a password. It's going to download the PAL cache. And in my instance, I don't want to do the bootstrap. You probably do. It's fairly hefty to sync from zero, but in my case, I'm not actually setting up a Bitoreum Smartnode. We're just doing this for the sake of showcasing this piece of software. So it can run in the background. Next, it's going to ask you to set up the comp file. These are optional, but they're nice to have in the future. We're going to come back to these. Collateral update, the public key. This one isn't optional. This is the private key. Okay. And the owner address is optional. This is optional. Okay. So we're off to the races. And we're going to wait a little bit to make sure that it actually, yeah, good. Okay, so we're going to dump out of this tail. And now we're going to talk about some of the other little nifty features. Okay, so Safe View is the utility that I created for the purpose of streaming. This will show you, you can either force it with a username, or it'll just cycle through the names that it knew it installed. We're going to say view the configuration file for this. Now, what makes this different than catting is the BLS key has been redacted, so that way I don't have to expose it to you guys. And what we're looking at here is these things up here, which are kind of user settings that are nice to keep in hold of. So first thing that we're going to do is we are going to update the configuration file. Okay. It's going to ask you for Bitoreum. You can also explicitly set that. We'll do that next time. So we're going to say, yes, we do want to modify the Bitoreum. It's going to safely shut down the Bitoreum daemon, because in general, you should only modify that file if it's safely shut down, even though the values that we are putting in there are optional. So it's going to ask you for collateral hash. Now, if you want to enter a new one, you will enter it in. You can press enter to keep the current, or you can put a hash or a pound sign in there to just clear out the data entirely. But in our case, we want the collateral hash. Okay, we're going to paste it over there. ProTX. The public key. The owner address. And the voting address. Okay. Now, if we go back to say safe view, oops, yeah, let's do that the other way. So if you pass it a username, okay, it'll automatically, it won't ask you, it'll just say, okay. But unlike before, we still have the redacted one, which is the purpose of this particular script. But as you see now, the data has been entered. Now, to be careful and to be perfectly honest, I'm not checking to see if this data is actually accurate. You can put whatever you want there, but this is really for you anyway. So putting accurate data really benefits you more than anything else, because in the future, you know, when it says, oh, to do like an upgrade, you need the ProTX hash. So it's just really easy to copy that data from here. Okay. So, now that we've updated the configuration file, there is a known issue that my network has. So we're going to update the IP for this instance, and it's going to ask for Bitoreum again. We're going to hit yes, and it's going to safely shut down. Now this is critical data, so shutting down here is more important than it was the first time. So we're just going to go ahead and wait for it. And it's the bind address. So 192.168.12.24 is my local IP, but for some strange reason, it could be the Raspberry Pi, it could be my network in general, but it really doesn't like that, primarily when it gets to the sync governance. So the one thing that I want to switch it to is 0.0.0.0, which will bind this instance to the IP, which means for my purpose, I will never be able to share this device. It'll keep the external IP, which we're going to do here. We're just going to enter blank to keep it current, and it will also put the port number after. So now if we go to view safe Bitoreum, we can see that my bind has been updated in the external IP, and in theory we should have restarted the service and it will go on again. Okay. So that is how we more or less update. So we have now run the initial script, we have safe viewed, we have updated the configuration, and we have updated the IP. So the last thing that this script is capable of is obviously uninstalling. Now this is destructive by nature, so unlike the other ones, you have to pass it a username. You can't just rely on the automatic updater saying that, oh, I can determine these usernames. So you need to actually pass it a username. So in our case, it's Bitoreum. Okay, and it warns you you're about to uninstall the Smartnode system. It's going to stop stable, and do you want to proceed with this? It will default to no, but in our case, we're going to say yes. Wait a second for it to stop everything and remove the systemd stuff. Right, it's uninstalling the service right now. Deleting the user because it actually installs it into a particular user, and now it's completely uninstalled. So if we were to say cat, oh wait, no, we need sudo. Sudo /cat/home/Bitoreum. Right, nothing there. Nothing there. And that should be there. That is a file that's generated every time because the user, Bitoreum, is now gone. But not all is lost. I know that uninstalling in its nature is somewhat destructive, but that's okay. If you go over to opt Moonstone, in here, on the initial setup, it will generate this file, which will be able to show you the installed users. Now, we uninstalled it, so it's not going to show you anything, but if we go to here, and we go to CD Backups, and we hit LS, we have a copy of the conf file. Right? So if you do accidentally uninstall and then realize, oh, there was a bunch of data in there that I wanted to keep, no worries. I've got you. Every time that uninstall happens, it should save it with the username -Bitoreum conf. So in our case, it's Bitoreum-Bitoreum, but if you had something that said like test, it would be test-Bitoreum. So that way, it's destructive, but not all is lost. All right, I hope this video helped you out. Any further questions, as always, you can reach out to us in the Discord channel, and I'll be able to help you personally. Have a good day.